Finishers and factions catching action.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finishers and Factions does Monday Night Raw. With this week, you have, as always, myself, Rich, and my co-host, Adam. Adam, what have you got for us?
Woo, woo, woo. You know it.
Ah, the Long Island Iced Z Zack Ryder, or Matt Cordana, as he is known on the independent circuit. God damn.
Yeah, this is it. I went a bit old school this time round, but yes, we are Monday Night Raw, and this is the very last leg of this European tour, based in London, England, the O2 Arena.
It's the second
With a crowd of, I believe, it was somewhere in the region of 16,563 raving lunatics in London.
That is true. I did notice, though, that WWE did not put that statistic in their programming until the last 5 minutes. So they must have had a couple of the local roadmen doing the head count, because it took them a few opportunities to get that one done, I think.
It certainly did. It certainly did. But yeah, it's weird to think that this is like the first Monday Night Raw that was broadcast from London in 6 years.
It's even stranger to think that we've had a European tour 2 weeks before WrestleMania. Like, that's not very often we get that. And obviously now with this fantastic program that we got to endure, along with, like you said, the 16,500 maniacs in the crowd. What a way to finish a European leg on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, this is it. So we start our evening actually with the man that doesn't like being told we can't see him.
Well, yeah, but I say for the last few weeks we've all seen his antics and we've all heard his words. And
so if I remember correctly, this man is a 16-time world champion and a 2-time skin cancer survivor.
Which is, on its own, very, very impressive.
Yeah, has nothing to do with wrestling talent whatsoever.
No.
But always worth an honourable mention.
Definitely.
Of course, we are talking about John Cena, who basically comes out to the ring, but for once, before he can even open his mouth,
we get to hear there is only one royal family in wrestling, and Cody Rhodes also decides he's going to make an appearance in front of this London crowd.
I mean, we sort of knew that. We had to know that was coming realistically because, yeah, it's WrestleMania season. He's in the main event versus John Cena. Wherever one appears, the other one will surely get there as well. So
I do find it amusing, and no one else may have noticed this. I did see it on social media to start off with. But with the main events at WrestleMania this year, neither of our Royal Rumble winners are actually main eventing WrestleMania. So neither Charlotte Flair nor Jey Uso are in the main event slot at WrestleMania, as they are being filled by John Cena and Cody Rhodes on the Sunday evening, and the Saturday evening is CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, as we found out on SmackDown last Friday.
yeah, this is it. So yeah, loads to go. Like, really weird sensation to know that none of those are going to be a thing realistically.
No.
But yeah, I mean, did you notice as well that once Cody had made his entrance, Cena himself looked visibly disgusted at the fact that they were all sort of they were all essentially karaokeing.
Yeah.
Karaokeing
Cody's entry music.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. I was going to get there in the end.
I think it just takes so long, and I say this with all the respect in the world because Cody would kick my ass, but he does milk that entry a little bit more than he possibly needs to sometimes. And well, we're going up against a man who just wants to talk and talk business, and all Cody wants to do is lavish in the crowd, which I suppose is a very facey thing to do. But come on, man, stop wasting my time. Punch him in the face, or get punched in the face. Like, crack on with it. Same with Jey Uso. Again, I love it. It's a great entry track. It's hype. It does exactly what you need it to do. He does milk the absolute tits off it. Some days you're just sat there like, come on, man, hurry up and speak or hurry up and fight.
Yeah, fair enough. I can certainly get behind that. It's a case that there is such a thing as going too long, and yeah, both men you mentioned are guilty of it.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I've ever had complaints for either. So, yeah.
No,
well,
quite the opposite. Oh, what are you done already?
Is it time to roll over and go to sleep now? Is it? Sorry, darling. My bad. Whoops. Anyway, we digressed again. The first thing we do get to hear is from Cody. He's the first person that opens his mouth, considering he was the second person to the ring. And he basically does it in a way of saying, look, John, shut up. We've done nothing but hear you talk for the last 2 weeks. It's my turn now. You're going to fucking listen to what I got to say. And to be fair, Cody had a fair chunk of things to say. This segment had some meat and veg to it, but it was very strung out. I felt it was quite strung out anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he starts by pretty much roasting himself, just so that Cena doesn't get the opportunity.
I mean, fair play. We've seen many people do that in the past. You know, Eminem did it famously in that movie about himself. You know, take all the insults about yourself off the board. What else have they got to say?
Yeah, I mean, the logic is sound. You certainly can't escape that. But yeah, starts taking the piss out of his own lisp.
Yep. That damn tattoo on the side of his neck that looks like an arm tattoo, but isn't.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite a good line, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, all of the things he came out with were fucking solid burns, and it makes me think that he's gone round to the locker room beforehand and just said, "Seriously, if you were going to roast me, give me your best line. I just want to tee things up and try and get as many of these out of the way as I possibly can."
I mean, and you can't really blame him for doing that, and it's a smart, intelligent thing to do. And by learning from your peers as well, it gives you more standing as that champion in the locker room. So it's not a bad move from Cody to do that if that is what he's done. It's certainly helped him in this situation of going up against John Cena on the microphone, and we've seen Cena bury some massive guys when it comes to his mic work. So you definitely can't knock that or take that from anyone, to be fair.
No, definitely not. But with Rhodes always basically he basically starts talking about like the history between him and John Cena as well. So it's a case that him and John used to be riding partners together. They work the roads together was probably a better way of putting it, to be quite honest. But
I was going to say, but if you ask John Cena about that situation, all Cody Rhodes was to him was just a glorified chauffeur that got lucky. So it's one of those situations. Each side of the story has a different perspective, and we're definitely seeing that perspective change within these promos in this build up to WrestleMania.
Yeah, 100%.
One thing I did notice, and it kind of brought out the little inner child in me a little bit. purely because as a child, I always wanted one. As an adult, I now think of the things that went on in the background to get these things that I don't want one. But Cody Rhodes was wearing a Blue Peter badge. Like
Yeah.
I thought that was cool as fuck. Like there were definitely like I remember watching Blue Peter as a kid. I know that much. I always wanted a Blue Peter badge. I always wanted one of the golden ones because they look cool as balls. But yeah, I was sat there looking at his lapels, going, "What the fuck is that badge?" And then yeah, I spotted it. It was like, "That's a goddamn Blue Peter badge." I
Yes,
thought that
yes.
was absolutely amazing.
No, fair play. I remember seeing that myself. I didn't really think much of it at the time, if I'm completely honest. But yeah, like yeah, can't really say much fairer than that.
Which I find it ironic because a little bit later on, we had a little bit of a discussion about this promo before we started this, due to again, if two people listen to the same thing, they're going to find two different points of view behind it. There is a line in this promo that Cody Rhodes comes out with, which was a really well written line, and it was something along the lines of, you're the guy that hangs out with Zac Efron, wishing he was 16 years old. Now, Adam perceived it that Cody Rhodes had said, you like hanging out with this guy and you wish you were 16 still. Where I blatantly, I don't know why, I think it was just my darkness inside, but I thought Cody was calling John Cena a paedophile. And I was like, that is a really sly thing to do in the middle of a wrestling ring. Like a real cheap shot as well. That was not a pleasant one to drop in there.
Yeah, not gonna lie. The more I thought about it, the more I'm sat there thinking, do you know what? Actually, maybe Rich is right.
I'm pretty sure Cody called John Cena a paedophile in the middle of this promo, and no one else I've seen on social media has picked up on the fact that I'm pretty sure Cody called John a paedophile. Now, I would love to tweet Cody Rhodes and ask him if that's what he meant, but obviously he wouldn't tell us because it would break the fourth wall, so to speak. But I'm really like, did you just call him a nonce on TV? That's fucking ruthless.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you don't get much better. You don't honestly get much better than that. Yeah. When was the last time we saw anyone call anybody a nonce in the ring?
Oh, I don't know. I did see an article on. It was a clip on BBC News a few years ago, where the now king was in Scotland and he'd landed his helicopter, and this Scottish guy was waiting on the side of the field as I think he was still the Prince of Wales at the time, gets off this helicopter and he just shouts, "Your brother's a pedo!"
Yeah, I seem to remember that myself, if I'm honest.
I'm just there like that. That is fucking brilliant. Oh. Oh, slightly dark, but yeah, no, that was funny. There was a few different lines in this one. There was a little point where over the last few weeks, Cody's referred to himself as the chosen one a few times. And John Cena, he likes to say that he's been chosen by the crowd so he can go to the toy store like everyone else and get their toy belts from Fanatic and this, that, and the other. And Cody comes out with a line about, well, it was them that chose me, like the WWE universe chose me. It wasn't some guy in an office that we don't talk about who ain't here anymore. And I was just there like, everyone is ripping on Vince at the moment.
Oh, 100%.
A few references to that specific man in the last couple of weeks, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, like this is allowed?
Yeah, I was sat there when I listened to it, I was like, damn. Damn! I remember messaging you at one point. It wasn't for that bit in particular, but it was like I was there like, fucking hell, these guys are going for it.
Yeah, like Cody said that his dad was a wrestler before him, and that's if anyone is a company creation, it's John Cena. Like, what did you do before pro wrestling? What did your dad do? Like, you're not it's kind of like you're not a generational wrestler. You're not the start of a generation, and you're not in a generation, because you are just a wrestler. If you get me, where Cody Rhodes has got his brother and his dad were both in the same industry. One's at that promotion that we can't talk about. The one with the really talented Australian female wrestler. No, I'm not talking about Rhea Ripley.
No,
This one is timeless. Yeah. So Adam's getting fed up with the timeless Tony Storm stuff because I tried sending him a promo and my phone froze and he got it 4 times.
Oh, it's no better than the one that you tried. You tried sending me something else and ended up sending me a message for freaking money. You ended up sending me an advert for Moneybox.
Yeah, that
You're
was
a liability.
That was a Tony Storm promo. It was all fingers and thumbs, mate. I couldn't help myself.
But yeah, one of the. In fact, I know exactly which line it is that basically got me like proper like fucking shit. That guy's going for it. Was Cody's basically on a little bit of a rant saying everybody's scared of Cena on the mic, and he tells him that he's not scared of him, and it's the fact that he's illustrated that by proving that John Cena's got more dick in that promo than he's got in his jorts.
I thought that was fucking hilarious. I was sat there you've just called the man out on the size of his schlong and then you insult him by calling him a paedophile, because that's where this line, that was the start to this section about Zac Efron, which it was quite funny. But then Cody does just finish this one with a little line. He goes, "I'm just going to ask you one thing, John, and I might punch a giant hole in your logic, but which one of us sold out to The Rock?" And like, bearing in mind, John Cena helped Cody win his title when The Rock interfered last year's WrestleMania. Rock and Cena have had several WrestleMania moments, and they really, on screen, don't like each other too much. They've always been that sort of Polaroid character between the two of them. But yeah, it was not Cena that I thought was going to sell out. I'll tell you that much.
No, I mean after
certainly didn't expect a heel turn.
A two-year program with the man he sold out to. Like, yeah, who's going to see that coming?
And talking about things we didn't see coming, this week on Raw, after we finished with the John Cena Cody Rhodes episode, which basically ended up in Cena going to take a cheap shot at Cody and Cody catching him well and truly in a perfect opportunity for a crossroads, and left Mr. Cena on the floor with his eyes closed in a star shape, with his face pointing towards the WrestleMania sign, while Cody Rhodes was making finger gun pistols at it. Finger guns at it.
No, that was a Bullet Club reference. Straight up Bullet Club reference. It took me ages to figure it out.
Okay. Was Cody in the Bullet Club?
I'm not 100% certain. I did mean to do the research before, but I got too involved in what the hand gesture meant. It was the hand gesture I was more interested in. But yeah, it was a Bullet Club hand reference.
Yes, Cody Rhodes was a member of the Bullet Club. He joined the Bullet Club in 2016 when he was signed for Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Was not a leader, but he was a key member of the Bullet Club.
So that would have been shortly after he departed from WWE before.
Yeah, I'm guessing before the creation of All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so we went from the ring after the Bullet Club gesture. We left to a recap for our the recap of the build-up for our main event this evening, which was Io Sky and Rhea Ripley for the women's title, with Bianca Belair as a special guest referee. That one is the last section of the podcast this week, so we'll get to that in a little while. But like I said, things we didn't necessarily expect to happen on Monday Night Raw in London, England. We got a tag match as our first official match of the evening. And this was, well, this one was an interesting one. So we had New Day, which is obviously Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, but we had the return of a old fan favourite, especially judging by the reaction of the crowd in London. It was going to be pretty big anyway for these two, considering they're both English superstars. But New Catch Republic came out to the ring for their first match since July last year, where Tyler Bates picked up a rather nasty pectoral injury. So yeah, New Catch Republic's the team of Tyler Bates and Pete Dunne. Both of those lads are from the Black Country, Birmingham area of England. So it was nice to see those guys get a match in front of a decent crowd, an opening match in front of a decent crowd in London as well.
Yeah, and in fairness, I don't think they disappointed. I'm always a bit up in the air about Pete Dunne specifically. I don't know what it is about him, but he's just, I should like him. He's a local lad.
You should love
for
him. I was
me.
going to say they're both local
And
lads for you, aren't they?
Tyler Bates, I've got no problem with, but there's something about Pete Dunne. I don't know what it is. But something about that bloke bugs the fuck out of me.
Did he bully you in high school and you remembered him, but you couldn't remember where from?
No, different area, completely different area.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah, as it goes for an opening match, really enjoyed this match as it goes. I've got. So we see Adam Pearce come out to announce New Catch Republic. So one hell of an intro already. Yeah, this was New Catch Republic's first match since July of 2024, which is a hell of a long time. All because Tyler Bates has been out with with an injury. Now I didn't make note of what his injury was.
It was a pectoral injury. Did his pec
Oh, he
muscle.
tore his pec, didn't he?
He did, yeah, quite a nasty tour. And I didn't realise up until today's programming, so this shows you my knowledge, really. Did you know Tyler Bates was the inaugural NXT UK champion?
So I did know that, but I believe that was because they mentioned it during commentary.
Yeah, at 19 years of age, and this guy is was the NXT UK champion, which I think is incredible. Especially if you, to get to WWE at 19 is no easy feat. He's definitely got some. We're going to see more of Tyler Bates in the forthcoming future, I think, because he's a man on a mission. And considering how long he's been out as well, no ring rust in this match at all.
Yeah, definitely no ring rust whatsoever. If anything, I think considering how long he's been out, we have seen superstars who have been out for less time come back and show more ring rust than Tyler Bates did, and he didn't do half a job either.
It wasn't. I mean, at one point he blew a kiss at Kofi Kingston while Pete Dunne took him out, and then Tyler Bates dropped Xavier Woods on the outside, which I thought was brilliant. Nice little bit of say goodbye to the outside. Boof. Off you go. We did end up with, I don't know why, he always seems to impress me a little bit too much. It's Kofi Kingston always seems to do something that makes me kind of go, that was cool. And this time it was something as simple as a running senton on the apron. That got me kind of like, I like that. It's really simple this week. This match was one of those. It was not overly extravagant. It wasn't one of those that in 6 months' time we're gonna be like, oh, dude, do you remember when New Catch Republic came back and against New Day? It's not gonna be one of those matches, but it was a really, really good, entertaining match. To be fair, with a lot of half decent opportunities for both teams.
Yeah, I mean the senton you mentioned. I think was that the one that he pulled over, pulled on Dunn. As Dunn was basically draped across the ropes.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, so 100%, just something dead simple that caused so much damage. And yeah, I mean, we even saw Kofi hit a few of his like old school moves.
He
Like
hit an SOS
he,
at one point, didn't he?
he did, and I genuinely didn't expect it. I'd forgotten that that was one of his signature moves at one point.
I was waiting for a Trouble in Paradise. I'm not going to lie, but
Yeah, I can understand why. I mean, he pulled the SOS. Why wouldn't he do the Trouble in Paradise as well? But yeah, I just don't think he got an opportunity. I don't think he got an opportunity that would make sense in the narrative of the match, realistically. Um, but yeah, Kofi picks up the win of this match after hitting what commentary referred to as a daybreaker.
yeah. So I think that is the um, the name of the New Day's double team move. It's called the Daybreaker.
Yeah, so that they and fair play. New Day picked up the win, but New Catch Republic put on one hell of a show,
Which
and
is
we're looking
strange
really
because
strong throughout.
they were, and it wasn't the fact that Tyler Bates was being carried by Pete Dunne either. It was very even between the two. Actually, to be fair, I'd say Tyler Bates was carrying Pete Dunne. Like I say, I like watching Pete Dunne, but I don't. His character development is very, very poor. There's not very much to him. His promo abilities, from what I've seen so far, aren't amazing. Where Tyler Bates has got a little bit more oomph about him, and when he comes out, it was a hell of a pop for a guy that's not really done a huge. Say he's not done a huge amount. He's done more in a wrestling ring than I ever have, but he's not. It's not like he was a 15-time world champion that was returning from injury, or a 5-time that just re-signed with the company from after being elsewhere. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It was quite a big
yeah,
pop for a mid carder. So, yeah, no, I'm intrigued. I'm not going to lie.
yeah. This is it. We go from there into a VT recap of last week's Raw, where we saw the Usos
Oh,
compete as a tag team.
what did you miss out, motherfucker?
You're right, I did.
You
I
did.
missed out on I missed out on the interview, didn't I?
You missed out on a promo too.
Right. Okay. Take it away. I think my
So
notes are incomplete.
after the match between New Day and New Catch Republic, we see the New Day walking up the ramp, where they basically with a microphone saying they were told that they had to win this match to be able to get their title opportunity against the War Raiders. Where's their title opportunity? And instead of getting their opportunity, they just got the War Raiders. So Eric and Ivar came out, faced off with New Day on the ramp. Through basically, there was no brawling between the two. It was more Eric and Ivar just reminding them that actually, yeah, they're the champions, and rubbing it in their face a little bit by lifting the gold up in front of them, and New Day kind of wandering off, looking a little bit like, well, that's kind of pissed on our fireworks a little bit. But and then we went to a backstage segment with Big Jim and his brother Jay coming into him to have a little conversation about Big Jim's match later on with the ring general Gunther. Basically, that is the aftermath of the slap that was heard around the world when Jimmy Uso slapped Gunther in the chops. Want to say it was last week, but I've got a feeling it might have been the week before.
No, you're right. It was last week.
SmackDown last week, yeah. Was it Raw, last week? Raw last week, yeah, that was it. As we mentioned.
Raw last week. Yeah. So basically, Jay's trying to get Jim to allow him to support Jimmy at ringside, but Jimmy is basically saying, "No, going out and doing this on my own to prove to you that it can be done. And it is literally just Jimmy going out to try and give Jay a little bit of boost of confidence, because he's been so far in his own head over the last few weeks that he doesn't know which way is up at this point.
No, and getting himself beaten down and choked out week in, week out by Gunther has got to be taking its toll on him mentally as well. Especially, like, Jay's never beaten Gunther in a title match. I don't even think he's beaten him full stop in a singles match. So
no, they've never, and any matchup they've ever had, Gunther has come out on top, as far as I'm aware.
right, so he's got that weighing on his head. He's got the fact that he won the Royal Rumble. Everyone's kind of going, yeah, you won the Rumble, big deal. You still don't have no balls. And I mean, to be fair, you can understand why he's getting into his head. I personally think what they're going to do is they're going to sort of keep kicking him down for the next fortnight. And then they're going to have him go into WrestleMania as a severe underdog, right? Because who doesn't like an underdog win, right? When Gunther's been whooping his ass for the last 10 weeks, on site, week in, week out, ass whooping, right? Of course he's going to win at WrestleMania. They're just building it to the greatest comeback story of all time. Where
this it's that ultimate underdog story. The person, the individual. It's David versus Goliath at this point, except it's Jay versus Gunther.
pretty much, and we're not stupid, right? The WWE universe are not stupid. We may make stupid decisions and cheer for stupid people. Those of you who go to the shows and enjoy watching The Miz, that is a classic example of stupid decisions. But yeah, we could see this one coming a mile away, an absolute mile away. As soon as they started building it down, and when they brought Jimmy in for the little bit of we can do this, we can try and use his brother to try and hype him up a little bit, and then obviously we're gonna get this match in a little while, and it's gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah, this is it. Before we get there, though, we've got
We've got some celebrities.
We haven't. Well, I didn't even make a note of the celebrities that were there.
I did.
I know Louis Capaldi was there, looking haunted.
Yeah, so
That guy looked. I don't understand. It just adds more fuel to the fire of what I said on the last episode about things looking more. Just more like UFC.
Yeah, the musician Kate Nash was there. The UFC fighter Michael Venom Page was there. The creator of the Netflix series Black Mirror, Charlie Brooker, was there. And like Adam said, Louis Capaldi, the Grammy Award-winning artist.
But we went from those celebrity appearances to a VT promo. Well, it said it was a Hall of Fame promo, but I don't really understand what they were attempting to do. As it's been revealed in the last week that individual matches from years gone by will now be inducted into Hall of Fame. And we discussed this a little bit on Finishes and Factions to SmackDown. Where they are in the first match to be inducted is Stone Cold and Bret the Hitman Hart at WrestleMania 13.
Yes, that's
I want
correct.
to say. Well, this match was from January 2000, and it was Cactus Jack versus Triple H in a street fight. And all it really seemed to be used for was to plug the Hall of Fame ceremony. I don't understand why they showed us that match. It didn't make any sense.
So, I think they've started doing things like this because they've run out of people to induct, haven't they?
Well, you say they have.
Right.
There are still lots of people that they could induct into the Hall of Fame. I think they've just made it so that they can essentially string it out, because if they start inducting matches, it's not necessarily that they've run out of. It's not necessarily that they've run out of people to induct. It is more a case that they have. They're starting to run maybe a little bit thin of people they can induct, and now they're looking to try and pad out the Hall of Fame ceremony to keep that to basically allow more people to get to the point where they can be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, yeah, I'm the Hall of Fame's a strange one. I personally am not a big fan of the Celebrity Hall of Fame, but it's a different one. Yes, it was from there into the next. Oh, we had a little backstage segment, and it was only about 45 seconds long. It wasn't particularly long. Where we got to see Bianca Belair backstage getting some instructions on how to basically be a referee, where she is going to be the special guest referee in the match later on between Io and Rhea for the women's title. So she was just getting some last minute instructions and working out what to do from there. And then we went into the second match of the evening. Yes? Yeah, second match of the evening. Which
So
was
the only thing I'll mention about the clip of Bianca Belair getting further instruction around being a ref is that it made me laugh no end. That I found today before we recorded, I found a clip of basically the camera person that recorded parts of the match for the main event of the evening. The one thing we never see because the person in question stands literally just out of mic shot, giving on-site instruction to Bianca Belair on how to be a ref, is there is a ref stood literally just out of camera shot the entire time, where Bianca can see him so that he can instruct her on how to be a ref. That is how new she is to this.
yeah.
And that sort of raises a bit of a question for me, because some of the older wrestlers, you tend to find that they've been that they started out as refs, or they were referees at some point in another promotion.
Yeah.
A lot of the old style wrestlers they used to work the ring crew. It's a case that once they'd finished like wrestling their matches, it's a case that they wouldn't then just fuck off and go out for a party and end up in the next city. It's a case that they would go out and go out to the ring, help take the ring down, make sure everything was squared away so that it could go on to the next town. They would then get themselves to the next town, riding the road, carpooling with one another,
To then put it back together again.
and put it all back together again before going and getting some rest and getting everything sorted. And yeah, it's mad to me that to a certain degree, I think WWE has lost some wrestlers that do that. And Bianca Belair, unfortunately, as talented as she is, and I am not taking anything away from her talent, it just seems that maybe she's missed a few steps. She's missed a few steps that those that walked before her have taken and probably thought nothing of.
I mean, we've then got it going the other way. So there is a current WWE referee. Her first name is Jessica. I can't remember what her second name is. But she is currently just gone into the Evolve program and had some matches in there. So that definitely seems to be an interesting one. At least that we know when she gets up onto the roster, if she does, that she'll have an idea of how to be a special guest referee, because she's already been a referee.
Yeah, this is it. And this is how, like, we see, if you watch as many clips about wrestling as me and Rich do online, you will eventually come across clips where big names in wrestling today have been seen performing other roles in much earlier in their career. Like a lot of the security guys that we see used as security are not actual security guards, but more people from developmental, which are used as they're used as warm bodies essentially. But we've seen LA Knight, who has posed as a security guard. CM Punk has posed as a security
CM
guard.
Punk was one of John Cena's mafia mob members when he did that WrestleMania entry with the cars and the
Yeah,
Bonnie and Clyde style entry. CM Punk, you can see hanging off one of the vehicles holding a minigun.
yeah, this is it. It's a case that whenever you see a lot of people in one area, chances are these are aspiring wrestlers just basically filling a space.
And to be fair, it gets them some. You as a security guard take a move off a big performer, and someone notices how well you take that move, you could get yourself a tryout at WWE, which benefits everyone.
Yeah, this is it. Um,
But yeah, we've digressed a little bit in that one.
we have just a touch.
We've got
So
an
yeah, we'll
absolute
move on to
steaming match to get into. Our match 2 of the evening was Big Jim and Gunther. And
yes.
just before we get into the actual match itself, there are a few things I want to address. At certain points of the crowd, certain points of this match, you can hear the crowd chanting some bits and pieces. Now, I would just like to point out that at one point the crowd are chanting wanker at Gunther. There is nothing more English or than the word, like the way they use that word, right? So he stood there with 16,000 people calling him a wanker, which I think is fucking hilarious, I'm not going to lie. And
Yeah.
there was another later on again they went back to calling him a wanker, but this time they managed to tune it in with a different song, which I thought was funny. They were chanting "Oh Gunther's a wanker."
Yeah. Oh, Gunther's a wanker.
Yep, which I thought was fucking brilliant. The
Oh yeah.
English wrestling fans are definitely by far the most vocal wrestling fans.
Oh, and they're some of the most unpredictable. You hear some of like the legends talk about coming to the UK, and they're not necessarily calling the American fans predictable, but because the American fans get a
They get it all the time, so they get used to it. Where we only get it 2-3 times a year, so it's a fucking party when it goes off.
and that's part of the reason why during this European tour, when we've seen them go to places like Brussels, Barcelona, Bologna, those crowds have been absolutely insane. Because in some cases, it was the first time they'd ever had a televised WWE event
But the one in
in their
Brussels
city.
was the first one, and yeah, was the first televised WWE event there. And you're thinking, God damn. And they went off the fucking walls. They were probably one of the best ones. So yeah, no, fair play. No, it was definitely had some great interactions from the crowd. Again, we've had them for a while with different promos. They have a pop at Logan Paul a little bit later on in the show. They're chanting some rather obscene stuff at him too, which I found quite hilarious. But to
100%.
to start this match off, it starts off with a little bit of a. Well, it started off with Big Jim jumping straight in there. Obviously, he's had enough of Gunther kicking his brother's ass, and he wants revenge, and quite rightly so. We'd all want the same sort of thing. But it basically just turns into a slap and chop fest between Gunther and Big Jim, and Gunther eventually tosses Big Jim out the ring like he's a rag doll, and then gets out himself and throws him over the barricade of timekeeping, and then just basically kind of just chops him around a little bit to send him to the other side of the announce table, where he kind of just bounces him off the barricade and off the ring and off the barricade again, and then back into the ring.
Yeah, and while Big Jim put up a good fight towards the beginning, once Gunther had got control, it's a case that he just sort of really picked him apart. I mean, there were occasions where Gunther was going in for the 3 count and would break his own he would break his own count just so that he could keep punishing Jimmy in the ring. And
I thought that was so obscure. Never have I ever seen a wrestler break his own count just to cause more damage. It just seemed so. Yeah, it was different. I liked it.
it's not something we see very often. It has been done in the past, just not as often as some other bits that we see quite a lot, like getting beat down after the bell or anything like that. Anything like
Yeah.
that we see week in, week out. But for a wrestler to break their own 3 count, prolonging the match, normally goes one of 2 ways. It either goes to the extent that the person that's breaking the match is just going to completely dominate and decimate, or they're going to break their own count and end up living to regret it because they get their ass handed to them.
Yeah, definitely. There's got to be a certain level of skill and a certain level of cockiness before you can start trying to play those sort of games. And thankfully, this time Gunther fucked around and didn't find out. But one day, if he tries that with the wrong person, he could fuck around and find out a bit too hard and lose his title.
Yeah, and I mean, the match itself is, well, I thought the match itself was relatively short considering what it could have been.
Yes.
But Gunther essentially, after everything's said and done, ends up putting Jimmy to sleep.
Yeah. But I say with this one, we had it was a bit of a strange sort of setting. So Jay came running down to the ring to save his brother. And then they all sort of end up it's basically a 2-on-1 at this point. Until Gunther manages to drop Jimmy and then handcuffs Jay to the rope with fucking cable ties.
Yeah, so some security did come out, and they were like cable tie handcuffs. Essentially, we've seen that it's something that American mall cops tend to use quite a lot, in the place of actual metal cuffs,
Well, they
because
tend to use them more, like a lot in riots and stuff, because they're quick dispersal and you can just cut them off when you need to, rather than
Yeah.
having to mess around with keys and double locking padlocks. You put your hands through, pull them, and you can stick them in a van. It's they're working smarter, not harder this time.
yeah, this is it. So yeah, I mean, he's cable tie. Gunther goes ahead and cable ties Jay to the middle rope, which essentially immobilizes Jay. He can only move along that rope on the entrance ramp side of the ring, and he can get in and out of the ring, but he's still sealed to that.
Yeah, he can't get any further away from the ring ropes than his arm,
Yeah, this is it.
which
And
was used very much to Gunther's advantage by kind of everything that happened to Jimmy after this point, and there was a hell of an ass kicking that was had. It was done about a foot and a half away from Jay.
yeah, Jimmy was already in a relatively bad way when he was coming out of that match, but after that ass kicking he took, I mean, the guy was busted open after being bounced off the bonds with a bell.
Oh, he was definitely bleeding. Just a slight trickle of claret all over his face.
A slight trickle. That's an understatement and a half. But
He was gushing.
yeah,
It was.
he
nuts.
was.
Not sure if he was supposed to get cut open. Is it, or you wouldn't blade yourself that deep? That's pretty nuts. I think that might have been an accidental wounding and actual blood.
I mean, we don't see that much colour that often anymore. It used to be quite common,
Yeah,
but
back
it's
in the
now
Attitude
it's
Era, that
used
was
just enough. It's used just enough.
Yeah, back in the Attitude Era, that stuff was used like it was basically a warm up. If you didn't have claret
Yeah.
on you at the end of the day, you didn't have a match.
But yeah, essentially, we have several sleeper holds, just an absolute brutal beating. I mean, Gunther by the end of it is coated in Jimmy's blood.
Oh yeah, it's like he's done some sort of ritual with it.
Yeah, and you sort of have to feel sorry for Jey Uso at this point because I mean it's tough enough watching it when you're not related to the person that's having his ass kicked, but Jey is literally stood right there. He is within a hair's breadth of being able to reach his brother Jimmy at any given point and can do absolutely nothing. Now, this guy was suffering a crisis of confidence beforehand. He is now, I mean, by the end of it, he looked completely broken.
I mean, can you
That was a
blame him?
broken man.
Can you really blame him though?
Oh, definitely not.
I mean, yeah, Gunther's just running off, being all happy and merry. He's just beating up the other half of the tag team clown division, and that's how he views Jimmy, is it? A massive views Jay, sorry, as a massive clown. So he's obviously just going to tar both of them with the same brush because that's what everyone else is doing. And yeah, and if he's getting bored of beating up Jay, he might as well make a start on Jimmy, and no, he did.
Yeah, this is it. And yeah, I mean, Jimmy is eventually sort of taken off to the back for some medical attention. We are told later on in the episode that he's receiving medical attention, but the status of him was unknown even after the show had finished airing.
Well, there are
So
rumours, according to social media, that he's been written off WWE TV for a little while to go and have some surgery done, but I'm not sure how true it is. Apparently,
right, okay.
he sustained an injury in that match.
Sustained an injury. That's like being an Australian bricklayer and saying that you sustained an injury.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know that reference, go to YouTube, type in Australian bricklayers accident report form, go and find some dry underwear for later because you're about to laugh so hard you pee. It's fucking ruthlessly funny. Ruthlessly
Oh,
funny.
100%. It's my happy place. It really is. If I'm ever in a bad mood, I'll sit and watch that, and it's instant recovery. But yes, anyway, we go from there into a quick VT recap of the contract signing promo from SmackDown, which basically recaps everything that happened there. We're not going to go into that unless Rich has got any new information for us because we already covered it.
What, the contract signing from SmackDown?
Yep, that's the one.
Nope, nothing new from me, boss.
Cool. So yeah, if you want to hear about what we've said about that already, go back to the last episode of Finishers and Factions to SmackDown. You'll hear all about it.
Yeah, the next recap I got was of the Penta Bron Breaker match from last week when Judgment Day got involved and Penta decided he did not want to join Judgment Day. If you want to listen to any more on that one, remember, it's on last week's episode. You can head back and re-listen to that one or just check it out for the first time. You can find that one and all other podcasting services.
Yeah, most definitely. But that VT recap leads into a backstage promo for the Judgment Day, who are, I mean, they're basically having a. It looks almost like a bit of a frigging party, to be quite honest.
They all look pretty fucking happy, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, even like Finn Balor and Dom Mysterio, they've been not necessarily at loggerheads, but they've certainly not been agreeing with one another recently.
Yeah, but it's mainly over Dom wanting to bring an extra member into the Judgment Day. Finn Balor not thinking they need it. Dom then approached Penta and now, I mean, even Finn Balor was brazen enough to open it up and basically just went, you know what? Now all that's finished with, looking at Dom quite like, no more people, Dom. We're done. Like, we can now sort of crack on and get ready for the gold that we all deserve. Obviously, Liv and Raquel currently hold the women's tag titles, but Raquel's been going after the women's intercontinental title, while Finn Balor's been going after the men's intercontinental title.
But Judgment Day have got no title matches this week, as instead Finn and Dom are due to take on Bron Breakker and Penta in a standard tag match.
They are, which if I remember correctly, is our next match. But
Yes.
we do have a little bit more to this one, because we actually had an apology from Finn Balor to Raquel Rodriguez for he said he was sorry about the fact she lost her match last week to Lyra Valkyria, but this week it'll be okay because he's going to go and win the IC title, but he doesn't actually end up with a match for that one. He ends up, like we said, going into a tag match with Penta and Bron Breakker, which I actually didn't get that many notes for, to be fair, because the wrestling fan of me took over.
I mean, I probably got a little bit more than you, but not by much. The only thing that we do know that we do get after Finn and Dom and accompanied by Carlito leave to go and get ready for their match, we see that Liv and Raquel start seemingly making plans to do with Bayley and Lyra Valkyria off the back of the IC title match that Raquel had last week.
Could be an interesting
tag
team.
That elaborates a little bit more a little bit later on. So we go into the men's tag team match that we've just mentioned: Penta and Bron Breakker versus Dom Mysterio and Finn Balor, who are accompanied by Carlito.
Yeah, I mean, Carlito spends a lot of time at ringside, but he doesn't actually do very much. He's just an expensive bump taker at this point. Even the jobbers are being... Yeah. He's even jobbing for the jobbers. That's how little Carlito is being used right now, but he's getting so much...
Carlito has said in interviews before that he's not really prepared. He's not got it in him to wrestle anymore, but he's happy to take bumps and put other people over.
Which is easy enough, I suppose.
Yeah, this is it.
Well... Some of the notes that I've got, I say, not many of them are particularly good. I did get that Bron Breakker reversed a double team at one point and managed to pick up both members of Judgment Day, with that being Dirty Dom and Finn Balor, who were trying to double team Bron Breakker. Well, he single-handedly double belly to back suplexed them, and they didn't know what hit them by the time this match had finished. I'll tell you, it was quite a good little match, to be fair. There wasn't a lot of massive spots that, like, oh my god, the listeners are going to want to hear about that. It was all very simple, standard, basic, good quality wrestling. So you do the basics well, the good stuff comes comes more naturally. And these guys stuck it at basics, and it worked to a point.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, we know that Dom and Finn are going to be able to work together. They've been in a faction for God knows how long, but it was actually quite interesting to watch the dynamic between Penta and Bron Breakker, as Penta is also going after Bron's IC title and still sort of actively pursuing that as it goes.
I think it was only because Penta saved Bron Breakker last week from the beatdown from Judgment Day. No. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. But yeah, it is a case that, I mean, this was only Bron Breakker's second tag team match on the main roster. he was a former NXT tag champion when he was in NXT, but as far as Raw and SmackDown go, this is only his second ever tag team match.
I mean, that's impressive considering how long he's been in the company.
Yeah, this is it. It's just so it shows how they've used him, and most of it has been in singles competition apparently. So, but yeah, I didn't get a huge amount more than what you've already mentioned. Mostly towards the ending, really. So Judgment Day run interference. Basically, Carlito gets involved to distract the ref. We got Penta who goes for a Mexican destroyer to Finn, but Dom sort of catches his leg to prevent the move from completing. And then Dom sort of ends up holding Penta hostage almost.
Kind of pinning him against the ropes, holding on to him, wasn't he?
Yeah, very much so. And it's I don't like giving credit to Dom when I need to, but I will when I have to. Because the next bit was really impressive. So we saw from our angle that Brom was in the corner preparing to deliver a spear. Dom also spots this, which Finn does not, as he was preparing to deliver a beat into to Penta, and Finn actually ends up catapulting Penta into Finn, knocking Finn out of the way, and Penta got all of a Brom Breaker spear.
I mean, Dom didn't want to take another one of those because he took one a few weeks ago, and we know he thought that hurt. And that spear to Penta was pretty much the start of the downfall for these two. Like,
100%. Because after that had happened, we see Dom come in and basically take Bron Breakker out of the ring as Finn just goes to work on Penta and basically gets him into position for the coup de grace that ends up picking up the win for Finn Balor and Dom Mysterio.
yeah, and another win for the New Day, for the Judgment Day, which will keep their push.
New Day was the first match. We're on the third match now.
Yeah, it's just too many days, and we have to make a judgment about the New Day soon. So,
wow.
Oh, that was good.
Right, it wouldn't be an episode of Monday Night Raw, I suppose, if we didn't talk about one individual particularly. We go from that match into a backstage promo where we see Chad Gable basically bigging up El Grande Americano.
Yeah, the Big White Coffee had a great match last week, and we find out now that he's having another match next week in Minnesota.
Well, all because Chad Gable has yet again come up with a doctor's note to stop him from competing on this week's Raw, only to find out that note will also excuse him from next week's Raw, which just so happens to be in Chad Gable's home city.
Well, says to me we're going to see some fun in Minnesota on next Monday night.
Now, this next bit that happens intrigued me a little bit because I've been picking up on this over the last couple of weeks, and I have mentioned it here and there, because as Chad Gable is leaving, Alpha Academy come in. Now, the two do have, I'm going to say, a little bit of an exchange. Otis just stands there looking menacing, as Chad Gable calls him an idiot and a clown, and then fucks off.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No, he's not, and it's a shame because Otis could be an absolute wrecking ball of a superstar, and is an absolute wrecking ball of a superstar. But we see Alpha Academy come in, and it's actually Maxine Dupree who decides that she's going to be speaking on their behalf on this particular occasion, as they've come to talk about the tag team division in Monday Night Raw, and Adam Pearce automatically assumes that he's referring to Otis and Tozawa, when Maxine actually has a few ideas that she's been cooking up with Natalia recently. that's the one that I've noticed more than anything else, is that we've seen in some of Alpha Academy's promos of late, is that Natalia has been present and it has been unexplained as to why she is there. But now we're getting a bit more of an idea that, is Natalia joining Alpha Academy, maybe? Is that where we're going with this? Or is she just going to be tag teaming with Maxine Dupree? And this is where we've sort of got to think about where this goes. But I'm sure we'll find out more on next week's Raw. Now, if I'm not very much mistaken, we go from there into a backstage promo where basically Kathy Kelly, bless her heart, tries her very best to interview Bron Breakker, but before the interview can even be introduced, we have an incensed Penta, and he seems to be laying all of the blame for that last loss at Bron Breakker's door. And he is there giving it beans. And yeah, I mean, he comes out hot after he feels that Bron Breakker abandoned Prenta to get his ass handed to him. Ends up calling Bron Breakker stupid, which, I mean, he's never really said anything overly intelligent, so he could be stupid. We don't know. From there into an in-ring promo with AJ Styles.
Yeah, the phenomenal
AJ Styles is coming out because basically he was called out by Logan Paul last week, and apart from a little walking about with his crew, like, I'm not even going to call it a promo or a vignette. It was a little clip we saw earlier on.
Oh, his
I haven't
arrival.
actually heard it from him or anything.
Well, that is because Logan Paul only likes to get mouthy when there's people around to watch. And, so where AJ kind of says, look, I've been waiting and you haven't done it, so why don't you come out here and let's, I'll do it instead. To which we do get the Mavericks entrance music and the appearance of Logan Paul.
Yeah, much to the London crowd's dismay, as once he'd made his entrance, he in true Logan Paul fashion, they tried to drown him out. And in fairness, I think he's sort of got wise to this by now, just because
It happens every time he
stopped
makes an appearance.
He stopped trying to what's the word? He stopped trying to sort of wait for them to stop booing, and now he's just cracking on with the promo instead. It's just a case of, yeah, no, I'm not gonna fuck about doing this. It's gonna be a case of, I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna get my shit in, and I'll just fucking go.
Yeah, I got told off last time. I'm just doing what I got to do and leaving.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, he can afford the fine if he goes over, but yeah, is basically saying that he hears the crowd booing, and no one in the crowd, not even AJ Styles himself, has the same level of fame he does, and he's a global phenomenon, loved by everyone. But he is keeping it humble. He is also good looking, and we're out here on Logan Paul's time, and if he wants to make us wait to tell us what he's got to tell us, we're gonna wait because we're sheep. That was Logan Paul's opening statement, and the crowd didn't really take that too well. And well, I'm not a sheep, you bastard. I'm an arsehole. There's a difference.
Well, I'm sure I saw. I don't remember it explicitly, but I'm sure I saw a clip of that exact same segment where the crowd are basically chanting "Prime is shit."
Yeah, that would not surprise me. There was a few different crowd chants that were rather interesting for Logan Paul this week.
Yeah, he's
one of them at one point they were chanting "Who are you?" as he seems to think everyone knows who he is, and he's the best thing since sliced bread. Well, Logan Paul, I'll tell you something. The best thing since sliced bread is sliced cheese, not Logan Paul.
Yeah, it was me. I was half expecting you to say hot cross buns.
Oh, I haven't had any of those today.
Why, the shops run out?
Pretty much.
Yeah, fair play. Um, but yeah, I mean, AJ is the one to point out to Logan that fans don't really care about his fame or his money, but they sort of the only thing they really care about is what he's going to end up doing with all this talent. Because love him or hate him, unfortunately, the man is talented in the ring, and yeah, that just makes me hate the fucking cunt more, if I'm honest.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. For someone who's got so much experience cutting promos and videos and stuff, he can't really cut a promo that well. It's like he loses his arsehole halfway through it. I know there's a big difference between doing it in a room with 3 or 4 PCs and a couple of editors than there is in front of like 16,500 people, but it's pretty much the same sort of similar process. You should be able to do it slightly better.
Yeah, as you said, there's a huge difference to doing it live than doing it when you've got the opportunity to chop and change and edit the fuck out of it. And yeah,
Yeah,
this is possibly where he's got a lot of in-ring talent, but his ability to cut promos is something that needs to be developed. But this is, and we've said this before on the podcast. This is what he would have. This is what he would have sort of. What's the word? He would have got this all out of his system
had he
had he
gone to
gone
the
through the
developmental
right
centre.
path. Well, had he come up through the indies and paid his dues, he would have learned what cutting a promo meant.
But not necessarily every wrestler needs to come up through the indies. Yes, they do help. They do give them a lot of experience, but there have been some people, a certain gentleman who is appearing at WrestleMania in one of them, who was kind of handpicked for pro wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I just think you can tell the wrestlers that spent time in the indies. I mean, majority of the guys that come up through the performance center have spent at least some time in the indies,
Oh
whereas
yeah, of
Logan
course.
Paul hasn't spent any time in the indies.
No, his money with Vince McMahon bought him a nice fat get out of jail free card.
Yeah, he came in right at the top. It wasn't a case that he started at the bottom and worked his way up. He's starting at the top and working his way down.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's kind of sticking around mid card at this point. He's doing all right. He's not neither here nor there. One thing we did get from Logan Paul, which is not something we're going to see a lot of, was an apology to AJ Styles and his actions at Madison Square Gardens. But that's only because he's a daughter now. He's a daughter dad now. Sorry, girl dad, and he's trying to show his daughter the act of forgiveness, and he's basically saying, "No, I forgive you for what happened, but don't try and pull that shit again, because I ain't forgetting about it."
Yeah, AJ points out the fact that he's also a girl dad, and basically Logan's mouth's writing checks that his ass can't cash.
Oh, I thought that was a beautiful line. I've used it myself, not in that sort of same situation, but normally after about 4 or 5 pints and someone's kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. But it is definitely a very good line to use. Not the first time he's used it either. He's used it a few times over the years. That's where I stole it from.
Yeah, and Logan Paul seems to need to ask if he's being threatened at this point.
At which point, AJ points out that they are in the WWE on Monday Night Raw in London, England. It's more like we got time to do this. Let's go.
But Logan Paul doesn't fight for free, apparently.
And everyone in
Apparently,
London is too poor.
he does not give you a fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's not doing it for free. He's getting paid, just not what he thinks he should be.
Yeah, but he also basically states that London can't afford him and spends a good couple of minutes walking around the ring, pointing at different members of the WWE universe to say, "You're poor, and you're poor, and so are you." And yeah, he's
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 working a
really
crowd.
embracing his real life.
He is, and I've got to a point where I can't dislike him any more than I already do, but I can start to like him eventually, and he does play a heel role reasonably well. But yeah, I don't want to say he's one of my favourites, but he's starting to, the way he is working it is starting to sort of turn my favour a little bit more with him. I just
Yeah, and
need
that's
him
what
to
talent
work on that
is.
whiny bitch voice he's got, but do what Brock Lesnar does. Put a whole different accent for when you're working.
Yeah, this is it, and I mean, Paul even Logan Paul even manages to make the suggestion that if they are going to fight, they take it to WrestleMania to fight.
I mean, that's a valid point. Neither of them were in matches at WrestleMania. It
No, they are not.
would definitely be an interesting place for the showdown. Because let's face it, as much as we don't want to necessarily throw it out there, this is kind of one of those like dream matches. They've both got similar wrestling styles. They're both reasonably good in the ring. AJ maybe not as quite as good as he was when he was at TNA when he was younger, but he's got age on his side to kind of fall back on. Where Logan Paul kind of he can't. I don't think he'll improve too much, but he'll steady out at where he is. But yeah, it could be quite an interesting match for a Saturday sort of like second, third match in for a WrestleMania card. I'd take that.
I mean,
I'd take that over a Charlotte Flair match any day of the week.
I'll take it. However, the only thing I would have liked was a little bit more build up. I
We
mean,
do
we're
still
not that
have
far off.
next week.
We're less than 3 weeks away
Yeah, we've got a
from.
couple of weeks. We could get something interesting. I mean, let's face it. There is, obviously WrestleMania weekend. There is a lot going on, but there's going to be a lot going on in the build up to it. But some of the matches are already set in stone. We're not going to see any more from Punk, Rollins, and Reigns and stuff like that. We're all pretty much some stories are done, so there'll be more space to fill with the other stories. So we might get a bit extra time with that next week.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I'd have just. It feels like they've skipped a good couple of steps here. That's all I'm saying. It just feels.
I mean, it wouldn't be
It
WrestleMania week without someone fucking something up, right?
it just feels a bit rushed.
Yeah, sometimes we get that, but at the end of the day, it's the quality of the match at WrestleMania that they're trying to do, and at the moment they're trying to put on the best, show they can for the weekend, and they've got a fair few match spots to fill, and they're going to be kind of pushing and seeing what people can do and what the crowd are taking before they go, right, we're having these matches. We'll try and build something up when we can, but I know we're running out of time, but we'll do it as a, a grudge match or something. The he said, she said bullshit, if you get me. So they just get to fight it out.
Yeah, maybe. Uh, but Logan Paul, not to be outdone, does try and take a cheap shot at AJ Styles, but yeah, AJ's too experienced for that shit.
Yeah, AJ knows a cheap shot coming when he sees one, and those two pretty much end up having a little bit of a back and forth, which ends with AJ attempting a Styles clash on Logan Paul, but Logan manages to get out of the hold and disappear outside of the ring. AJ chases after him and sort of bashes him off the announce table for a little bit, throwing him back towards the ring, where he hangs AJ on the ropes, gets his balls caught on that middle rope, and we get to see Logan Paul hit that pulverizer, sorry, with the crowd chanting "YouTube wanker," which was my favourite Logan Paul chant of the night from the crowd. And then we jumped off from there into a little backstage thing with Jackie Redmond talking to Lyra Valkyria, who is the current women's IC title holder.
Yeah, that's it. And we were talking. They were talking about Lyra's first title defense last week against Raquel Rodriguez, and yeah, she was reasonably happy with how it went. I mean, she still walked out of it all with the title, which can't say much fairer than that.
Considering the size difference in those two women as well, like Raquel Rodriguez is a considerable amount taller and wider than Lyra Valkyria, so that would have been a mega match to watch. But for Lyra to come out of that with that title still meant that she was doing something right, and that she's keeping her bosses happy. That run's keeping going.
Well, Lyra Valkyria has been getting quite a bit of help from Bailey, actually, the role model, and
Bubble Butt Bailey.
yeah, I think, we find out Lyra's actually going to be sort of repaying the favour in a way and giving Bailey an opportunity at the women's IC title, which I believe is taking place next week.
That will be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for the women's IC title between Lyra and Bailey. So that'll be a decent match. To be fair, they've had a few matches where they've been on sort of opposing sides in tag matches and non-title matches. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that one. It'd be a really good match. To be fair.
Yeah, that's it. It promises to be a really entertaining match. So I'm just hoping they get the minutes for it, so that they can put some legs to it. But we go from there into a little VT recap of Gunther brutalizing Jimmy Uso, and basically it all builds up to us just finding out that Jimmy's receiving treatment, and we don't know anything else after that.
Jimmy left part of his brains on Gunther's World Heavyweight Championship belt when Gunther hit him in the head with it. And it was a hell of a plum shot.
Oh, 100%. But we've been over enough of Gunther and Jimmy and Jay. We're going to move on swiftly from that one into a backstage promo which sees Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez congratulating Dom and Finn on their win earlier on.
Yeah. Sorry. Dom and Finn had an interesting win earlier on in the evening, and you know, at this point we see sort of Finn's bigging himself up quite big in this one. It was his win more than him and Dom's win. The way he's kind of doing it, and the way he's talking about it, kind of makes it kind of it's all about him and how he feels, how good he is. And as it's WrestleMania season, he's going to go and talk to Adam Pearce about a title match at WrestleMania, and wanders off. So we're having a teaser there of Finn Balor, Bron Breakker for the title, for the Intercontinental title at Mania. Again, Bron Breakker hasn't had a match set and booked yet. So while Finn Balor's wandering off to find Adam Pearce, Liv Morgan says that says to Dom, really, that come on, dude, like, Finn Balor's piggybacking off you, and all the hard work you've been putting in for the Judgment Day recently, and she says she's going to go and talk to Adam Pearce to get Dom a title match to thank him. So we could then also end up with Dom versus Braun Breaker, or the possibility of the triple threat of Dom versus Finn Balor versus Braun Breaker.
So think I already know how this is going to play out.
Ooh.
And I don't think it's going to actually have anything to do with Braun Breaker.
Okay.
I actually think that the WrestleMania match will be almost like a control of the Judgment Day match between Dom and Finn.
Right.
There has been an awful lot of animosity building up between the two of them.
There has been.
And it's all got to go out somewhere.
Oh, I thought they were just going to use Liv Morgan the same way that Xavier Woods and Brad Maddox did to relieve stress with Paige.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's happening somehow.
No, definitely not.
So we move on from there to our main event match of the evening.
What a way to finish this show. Not only do we have a women's championship match, but we get a special guest referee, which is the one person that both of these women are trying to fight at WrestleMania. So
the challenger of the winner of this match is the special guest referee, which is always a nice little twist, really.
And the fact
and
that Bianca Belair has never been a special guest referee before. So we get to see kind of, well, I must admit, going into this, I was hoping she made a few big boo-boos, and it didn't quite go the way she wanted it to due to her, someone else having to sort of take over.
You know what? I think she did. There were boo-boos left in there that weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, no, there was. I just, when you kind of with the special guest referee, I was kind of thinking she'd be that poor at it that they'd send another referee down to basically be like, disappear, like, you fucked it, go. And then for them two to start having a pop at each other in the middle of the ring.
I mentioned this earlier in the episode that one thing that we don't see in the regular broadcast was that the entire time this match was going on, there was a referee at ringside, but he was just at a camera shot, helping, essentially babysitting Bianca Belair the entire way through that match.
Oh, helpful.
I
said that was very helpful.
It was for Bianca Belair.
It may not have been for everyone else who was trying to. I can imagine watching that live would have been a bit weird because you've got one ref in the ring and one ref running around the outside shouting at them. But then, a lot of people within the industry have done some form of refereeing, so the fact that she's got as far as she's got and not had to do any is a bit weird.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, I will be honest. I mean, you'd think she'd pick up a little bit of it up by transference, at least, having had so many matches.
Of course.
But then again, I suppose in that sort of environment, you're not really concentrating on what the guy in the guy in the striped pajamas is doing. It's you're more focused on what you and your opponent are doing.
Yeah, and try not to make sure that you A, don't injure your opponent or yourself, but B, don't do anything too outlandish. Unless, of course, outlandish is what you've got in mind for the match in store. And to be fair, this match had some outlandish parts to it as well, to be fair. I'm a little bit unsure what to make of this. There are some decent spots. I had the EO hit a missile drop kick on Rhea, and then uses there was like a suicide dive into a crossbody onto the outside, and then she breaks the count by rolling in and out of the ring, and then kind of carries on just dismantling Rhea. To be fair, one thing that really bugged me with this match was the fact that every time there was a rope hold or something along those lines, Bianca would physically get involved and pull apart, rather than the rest of the referees when they're doing it. Well, they'll put a hand on the shoulder, but they don't physically get too involved. It was more like a UFC referee at this point, where they will drag off the fighter and knock them down themselves.
But it played the part of being able to speak to her inexperience as a referee.
Yes.
So it aided the story of the match, realistically.
Oh, it did. It's just annoying. Like, just let them go at it. Let them fight.
Yeah, this is it. But there were some brutal spots in this match as well. I mean, Rhea Ripley ends up bouncing Sky face first off the apron.
Yep.
And Sky ends up, EO ends up retaliating with a Poison Rana. I'd never come across the term Poison Rana before this match, so that was a new term on me.
It's just a Hurricane Rana, but with a slight twist on it, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a backwards Hurricane Rana, essentially. Rather than pulling your opponent forwards, you're pulling them backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely looks
Yeah, it's not something I'd ever seen before.
just a very cool little move, I suppose. But then you get that from some of these Japanese superstars. They do pull out some really nice little moves. The Japanese style of wrestling is so different as well, though. So different.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons, like superstars like Shinsuke Nakamura is not doing very well in WWE realistically because his style doesn't suit the promotion.
Uh, that, and I saw a clip the other day. He's not changed anything in his gimmick up until this. Oh, I'm a Japanese fucking warrior with a mask. It's the same entry music, the same entrance, everything. It's all the same since when he debuted in 2016.
Oh yeah, no, he's
9 years he's been in the company, and he's using the same entrance stuff, the same entry, the same ring gear. Pretty much, it's everything is the same.
but then again the same thing could be said for like superstars like The Miz. The Miz's gimmick and the Miz is like he hasn't been repackaged in a little while.
No, but he can communicate in his native language, like in the native language of the country where they're programming. Like the only time Miz is out of his depth, probably talking to anyone, is when they go to Dubai. You know, like Shinsuke Nakamura is out of his depth speaking anywhere outside of Japan, really.
Unless he's talking to EO Sky.
Well, yeah. Or any of the other sort of Asian wrestlers on the roster.
Yeah, that too. But again, some absolutely brutal spots in this match. One of which was Rhea Ripley counter a crossbody with a headbutt.
That was pretty savage. That was quite a gnarly headbutt. Got a random fact for you though, Adam. Did you know that this week's episode of Monday Night Raw was a debut in its own right?
How do you mean?
Well, WWE this week debuted on Indian Netflix with this episode. So,
Ah, yes, I do remember them mentioning it actually.
Now we have the WWE universe from India joining us on the Netflix journey as well, so they're not missing out on what has been some incredibly amazing wrestling content over the last 4 months now.
WWE was originally was before it came to Netflix in India was being broadcast on the Sony Sports Network in India. So they've not missed out essentially. It's just in a different format, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix I think is better than your standard satellite TV. I mean, look how much easier it's made this podcast. I can go back and find last week, this episode, and find anything I need to within 5 minutes. You try going onto a cable TV show website and using the iPlayer feature to try and find it. It's a real pain in the backside sometimes.
Yeah, fair enough. But we won't focus too much on Indian Netflix, as I don't think we've had any listeners from there just yet. I mean, if I'm wrong, by all means, let us know. But as it goes, we then start getting towards the end of the match where it all starts coming undone a little bit.
Coming undone is, I think that's a bit of an understatement. I think this match basically came undone as soon as all three superstars were in the ring. The fact that we've got to the end of the match and Bianca has managed to piss off not only Rhea by getting her too handsy with her on breaks, but Io as well. And they've both got, they've both had sort of enough of it. You can see it's winding them both up. And we end up getting into what I think was the best part of the match, to be fair. It was after Bianca heavy-handedly broke up the count that Rhea had going on Io. Rhea actually hits Bianca in the face. And then as Bianca steps back, reeling from that slap, Io Sky hits her with a missile dropkick and sends her flying out of the ring. And we then get Rhea attacking Io. And there's a point where I think it was classed as a 20 count, but Rhea had got Io pinned for that long. The crowd chanted to 20, and Bianca was still nursing her jaw on the outside.
Well, yeah, but that was sort of Rhea's fault to begin with, as it was.
Well, it was. So it was kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but it was a hell of a boot to Bianca anyway.
Oh, 100%. But the hits to Bianca didn't stop there, realistically. But
No, they did not.
we got sort of real signs of Rhea Ripley's frustrations boiling over as the match progressed, and she even goes after Bianca at one point to vent some of this frustration that arguably she probably should have been venting it on Io Sky, realistically.
Well, yeah, but they both. Well, all three of them have got a hatred for each other at the moment. So at any point within the next few weeks, because now we find out at the end of this match, the winner of this faces Bianca at WrestleMania for the title. After Adam Pearce refused to make it a triple threat and reassigned the contract as well week before last.
Yeah, which probably would have saved an awful lot of headaches on his part, realistically.
Oh yes, no wonder the man is bold. He does not make things easy for himself.
But yeah, the match sort of comes to a rather dramatic end when Io Sky aims a missile drop kick at Ripley, but ends up hitting Bianca with it, and that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, realistically.
Yeah, Bianca had enough of those shots.
Yeah, pretty much, as she ends up calling the match in a double DQ. And this just seems to push Rhea Ripley especially over the edge even further, as it means that Io Sky retains her championship. The match at WrestleMania, as far as we are aware at the moment, is still a one-on-one, which will see Bianca Belair try and take the title off Io Sky. Um, and yeah, I mean, Rhea Ripley has been just left out in the cold with it.
I don't think she'll get left out in the cold. She will make an appearance at WrestleMania of some kind, but I can't tell you exactly what it is. I don't know. But
Yeah,
she'll
I
either
suppose.
interfere in this match, or we'll see her with. It'd be funny if we saw her help out Damian Priest in his match. Just come down and run in like distraction, so to speak.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, this the episode ends with just Riptide after Riptide after Super Riptide.
Oh, that riptide off the second rope is. I love it. That's one of
Yeah,
my favourite things to watch Rhea do. Is that riptide off the second rope.
and yeah, the last images we see is the bodies of the champion and the challenger laid out in the ring as Rhea Ripley is left standing over their broken, beaten bodies
with
with
the
the
with the
title in
title.
hand.
Yeah, I mean, what a way of pissing your enemies off, eh? I've just come in here, I've kicked your ass, and I've got your title.
Yeah,
You know what?
uh,
If only there was a women's 24/7 title, that would have been perfect. I've come in, I've kicked your ass, I've nicked your title. Let's go.
well, the 24/7 title by its definition was unisex anyway.
Right, yeah, but it would just be interesting with the just an extra belt floating around the women's division to help out.
I don't think the women's division needs any more belts. To be quite honest.
Well, they've got just as many as the men now.
Exactly. They don't need no more.
No, you're not.
But
Talking
yeah,
about
I
no
don't know about
more,
you, Vic,
that
but
describes the end of my notes.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that describes the end of mine as well. I was just about to say to you that I'm officially out.
Yeet.
Oot.
Right, so that leaves us with the end of this episode. It means we will be back in the next one, which is Finishes and Factions does NXT. This one is live from the Performance Center and is our April Fool's episode. So it's very much a thank you for listening from me, and
Yeah,
sure the same
and
from him too. And
yeah, exactly the same from me. So yeah, come back soon, and we will have for you finishers and factions does NXT.
see you later. Peace.